I'm Steve Wishaw, Head of Product at PICO. We're launching our new Templates and Variants feature, which allows us to manage our high complexity, high mix environments with relatively low volume. So we have this 8-bit assembly tray here, and we have a list of all of our actions, including entering a serial number, printing out a label, scanning that serial number, and then fastening some screws to put the PCBA into place. We have a series of images and actions supporting the assembly to make sure our technicians and assemblers are combining this in the right way. Our primary option here, both that's supported in the template and in our primary configuration option, have 8 screws that are holding the PCB in place. But if we have a smaller PCB or a different revision that has only 6 screws, we can manage that by creating a new variant that supports that. And when we do that, we can name our configuration or our variant option as our 6-screw assembly. And when we go into our specific action, we have the ability to say that this is 6 screws in program number 3 instead of program number 2 on our torque tool. Each of these individual configurations are called out from a variation to the template, and we can manage it in that way to be able to support it. We also can go to our primary template. For our 6-screw option, we can come in and modify the right quantity for both 6 screws and program number 3 instead of program 2 on the template. This is also called out on our main list view of what's a deviation from that main template. So we can manage those different options as they relate to each configuration option. If I want to change a picture, let's say for each of these clean housing and apply label step, I want to modify this picture and make it more up to date. If I come in here and modify this image, I want to zoom in a little bit and show something a little bit more clearly on my image. I don't have to go and change this image on all of my different variations. As soon as I make a change to my template, that'll propagate down to all of my individual variant and configuration options, as long as it's linked to that main template, which I can certainly do so here as well, and I can see that. If I need to come in here and change these individual items and say, I actually want to have this a little bit zoomed out for this specific version because it makes sense to do so, I can always unlink any part of my process from that template to manage my individual configuration separately. And if I say that's no longer important, I can always revert my main steps and images back to matching that template. This applies to both images, any text that's part of this. If I don't actually need to scan this QR code, I can both change my text description and exclude specific actions, measurements, or things that I need to do as part of my set of work instructions. And that's also reflected as part of my assembly here to see that I no longer need to do this scan, or I don't need to have the same content of the step description from that template. I can also add new steps to my template as well. So anytime I add a new step to my primary structure of my template, I can always see this reflected on all of my new configuration options, and I can of course exclude it from the steps that I don't need that new action or that new step as part of my process. Each of my variants can be configured specifically with a part number or a revision. So if you're matching it to a bill of materials for maybe either your ERP or PLM, we can match these different configuration options. So when your technicians on the floor are performing work and selecting that right process, we can call that right variant or configuration option as needed and support it with that relevant bill of materials and call out these specifically for each SKU coming down the production line. Can you see this helping your facility manage your high mix production environment? If so, please feel free to contact us and we'll be able to show you this with a demo using your work instructions and your configuration requirements.